This webinar will have input from the EBL Steering Committee, and I'm now turning it over to Dr. Jelena Popovic. Dr. Popovic?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Jane, for the introduction. My name is Jelena Popovic. I am from the University of Twente in the Netherlands, and I am a Vice Chair of Empower a Billion Lives. I hope you can see my full screen. That should work well. I would like to first welcome you all, and the program of this webinar is in sort of three parts. We will first sketch the challenge and talk about EBL as an initiative of the Power Electronics Society of IEEE. And then we'll also talk about how we see the challenge and talk a little bit about the first round of competition, just to inspire you. And then Professor Isa Batasev will talk about really Empower a Billion Lives too. So the round that you are hopefully going to participate in. And then we will have time for Q&A. So please feel free to post your questions in Q&A, and we will address them after the presentations. So we'll start with a few words to frame the challenge of energy access and our experience with it as a technical society of the Institute of Electronic and Electrical Engineers. As you can see, there are a number of logos on this slide, and this is also to show that while the initiative started from the Power Electronics Society, in the meantime, we have really a number of societies and initiatives and foundations within IEEE who are supporting or partnering within Empower a Billion Lives. So I think most of you in the audience today are familiar with the big challenge of energy access, with the Sustainable Development Goals that really should be a pathway to tomorrow. But in sort of in the center, in the heart of all of them is Sustainable Development Goal 7. And one of the key targets in this goal is universal access to energy. So there's really no realizing most of these sustainable development goals without access to energy. There's no reducing poverty, there is no enabling economic development, education, even water access. It really all relies on energy. And the picture at the moment is still quite bleak, especially thinking that we have less than a decade left to meet this goal of universal energy access by 2030. So at the moment, we still have 770 million people who lack access to electricity, and another 2 billion with unreliable access. The number is even higher for the cooking challenge. So we have 2.6 billion people who still rely on wood, coal, charcoal, so really polluting sources of energy for cooking and heating, from 3 billion in 2010. So there is minor progress. And really the solution that still gets the most attention, the most political action, the most investments is the traditional centralized grid, really the 20th century solution. While at the same time, we're witnessing really a change in renewable energy technologies, in storage, in LEDs, in really all these new technologies that are enabling cleaner and more efficient access to energy, and are actually in many contexts cheaper than traditional generation technologies. There's really a global shift towards a cleaner and a more efficient, more reliable, and more affordable system. So the question is, can this enormous energy access challenge also be met in a way that does not necessarily rely on the 20th century solution, but really makes use of these new technologies and leapfrogs these enormous infrastructure investments that we've done in the global north. So what is the issue with grid extension as a solution? Well, if you see the picture on the left, you can see that really only two utilities in sub-Saharan Africa are covering their operational and capital costs. So the demand in many of these contexts, electricity demand is low. I think this is a quote from Rwanda, but it's similar in many other contexts, that even say a year after a community is electrified, and in average monthly electricity consumption is 15 kilowatt hours. So this is not enough to enable utilities to cover their costs. Another issue is that a large number of people, and in this case, in sub-Saharan Africa, around 100 million live under a grid, so really close to grid infrastructure, but lack an electricity connection. And even those who do have a connection, in many contexts, struggle with reliability. In the case of Nigeria, 80% of Nigerian households connected to the grid report not having electricity half the time. So households may have a connection, but in most of the time, they rely on either polluting and noisy and expensive generators, or simply have no electricity. On top of that, of course, if we were to reach universal energy access with a footprint that an OECD country has, that would be environmental catastrophe. I think this is a really hot topic at the moment after the COP that has just closed. So, so in many contexts, grid extension is really not an answer. So in the past few years, or in the past maybe over a decade, two more decentralized solutions have kind of emerged to address the shortcomings of centralized grid. And it is sort of broadly in two groups. On one hand, solar home systems, which are really a household solution. So it's a relatively small solar panel, small storage, and a charger, and some mostly DC loads. On the other hand, are mini grids as more community level solution with larger capacity, with more centralized storage, centralized generation, and able to power larger loads. So the benefits of these more decentralized and smaller solutions is that they are easier to deploy, and they are in some contexts better matched to the demand. But they also have issues there. If we're looking at solar home systems, the initial promise was sort of people would climb the energy ladder with starting with small system, then buy a bigger system, and that's proven challenging. In the case of mini grids, business models are really an issue, because in the time of design and development of a mini grid, estimation of demand is made, which is often overestimated. Communities are the purchasing power in communities is low, so demand is low. So this really is then again issue of covering costs, and this has recently been more and more addressed with coupling to small industrial or agricultural loads to address that. So there's really still challenges for these solutions. So broadly looking, it really is not about energy access, about giving people access to electricity, or nobody buys electrons, everybody wants what electrons enable. So it's really about increasing life standard, improving health, increasing productivity, and really inclusion to 21st century society and world. So it is important to recognize that solutions are not really, it's not only about technology, or it's not really about business models, that there's really a number of things that need to come together in a holistic way for these solutions to be successfully deployed in communities, to scale, and reach this impact that well, it's all about. So within IEEE, the Power Electronics Society has decided a few years ago to contribute to this challenge by launching this initiative, Empower a Billion Lives, which is envisaged as really interdisciplinary competition that stimulates, that crowdsources innovation for energy access solutions to contribute to addressing this enormous challenge. So solutions are really encouraged from innovators of all backgrounds, all contexts, and it is about how these solutions can be scaled. How can we really reach this? How can we meet this enormous challenge? And just if you see in the right-hand side, we were just talking about smaller off-grid solutions, which have really made enormous progress, but it's still, if we look at tier 2 access, and you're probably aware of the multi-tier framework where access to electricity is in sort of increments based on capacity and availability and so on. So we still have only 15 million people who have reached tier 2 access by off-grid solutions. So the challenge is still enormous. So we ran the first round of the competition in 2018-2019, and yeah, in all ways and by all measures, it was we're really proud of it. It was a great success. So we had I think over 400 participants, 400 registered teams from more than 70 countries. We had in the end had several regional events in different parts of the world, different contexts, different continents, and we ended up with 23 global finalists who presented their solution in a global final in October 2019. So it really was about, and it still is in EBL2, it is really about addressing not only technology. I mean, we're a technical society, so it is expected that we're interested in technology, but we realize that it really needs to come together: technology, right business model, and positive social impact. And this all was really field tested. All the finalists had to field their solutions and show impact that they created. So just a few highlights and sort of to demonstrate in what directions innovations happened in EBL1. So you can see there were finalists from really all over the world, from Southeast Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa, Europe, United States, really all over. And innovations ranged from innovative business models in terms of local ownership and franchises that are training intensive by participants, to second generation pay-as-you-go business models that leverage existing capabilities in markets, to different sharing models that are both in energy sharing, but also in hardware sharing, and also an open source based business model that really empowers communities to utilize these open source designs to create solutions, to maintain them, and to really empower local communities. Also solutions in all levels of decentralized nano microgrids, interconnected solar home systems, solutions addressing expandability, in solutions in growth based on household needs, solutions that looked at reducing e-waste by increasing battery life. So really, really a wide range of innovations. And here is just a snapshot of the winners. So we had a grand prize winner. This is Team Souls from IIT Bombay in India, and this is really a team that presented an open source market-based solution for really addressing also localization of the solution, really making it part of the community and driven by communities. Then there were solutions in different tracks that were in sort of more centralized, more traditional utility-based AC mini grids, then peer-to-peer DC nanogrids. We had a student award, which was a team who had a sort of scooter share model for solar home systems, and then a number of additional prizes for specific aspects or specific solutions, as you can see here. And of course, this competition was run by IEEE and really made possible by all the volunteers of IEEE all around the world, which is also a strength of IEEE as an organization, relying on global volunteers. So maybe just to share some learnings from EBL1 that are also relevant, we think, for EBL2 as a competition, because we are aiming to really leverage on learnings from one competition to the next, so that we can really make progress in this challenge. So it also became clear what still the major issues are that we need to address in terms of interoperability of solutions. And as a community, we're also looking into that sustainability in the long term. It's one thing to deploy something, it's next thing to make sure that it still works in these communities. So issues of quality, also what happens with e-waste. This is becoming more and more community, energy access communities becoming more and more aware of that. So it's really sustainability in the broadest sense. Another thing we also noticed is that the energy access community as a whole is sort of divided in a way in the perception of whether we need new technology solutions. I mean, on one hand, we hear voices that it's not about technology anymore. It's really about sufficient investments and right business models and enabling policies. On the other hand, there are technology solutions that can really enable scalability and that can address challenges that I just mentioned above. Affordability remains an issue, and lack of purchasing power in communities. So this is really a major challenge, and I think we all agree with that. I mentioned clean cooking in the beginning, and this is something that's becoming more and more linked to electricity issue. So this is a challenge, but also an opportunity. And it really is about enabling scale for these solutions. So it is not every community electrified is obviously worthwhile, but we really need to make scale in order to reach this goal of universal access. And it really is about aligning technology, business models, and finance and right policies. So after EBL1, we continued our engagement with a number of or actually with a variety of energy access stakeholders. And one of the engagement events was a workshop in June this year, where we had really a large number of organizations, of global energy access organizations participating. And I will present a sort of few key outcomes of this workshop, but one of them was that we decided to form a global energy access forum as a community to share information about the challenges in energy access, technological advancements that can address them, and to really align the different stakeholders in vision of success, in how we get there, in how can we work towards this big goal. So just maybe to run through a couple of findings that came out of this workshop that can perhaps inspire you in sort of also presenting your solution. There is, of course, I already mentioned the issue of centralized grid versus decentralized solutions. So both of these solutions obviously have their place in the overall energy access planning. The danger is, of course, that we can, by having two separate worlds, end up with islands of viability, so solutions that are not working together, that are not integrated in the overall energy access infrastructure. So, of course, productive use of energy remains focus. It really is even lowest access to electricity. Tier 1 is already makes enormous impact, but it really is about enabling productive use of energy if communities are to be lifted out of poverty and really enabled economic development. Clean cooking, I already mentioned, is extremely tough problem, and there are some developments in electric cooking, and there are many challenges around that, as I'm sure many of you are aware. Another interesting thing that came out is that while there are many stakeholders working in energy access, there's also an issue of working in silos, everybody with their own KPIs, their own agendas, and really short-term goals. So the learnings between different stakeholders or groups of stakeholders still something that we can improve on. Looking at solutions that are sort of really different to each other, centralized, decentralized, we can also think about bottom-up solutions that can start from small solutions and grow as needs grows in utilizing plug-and-play building blocks that can enable these solutions. Interoperability is an issue. I've already talked about that. So the view of time, I think this is my last slide. So I want to close with the community that I mentioned we launched in June, Global Energy Access Forum. So the purpose is really to bring a diverse group of stakeholders together and to both drive the conversation in creating alignment between energy access stakeholders, to share information about capabilities that are enabled by technologies, business models, and financing, and of course organize EBL, which is why we are here today. So I want to note this forum is free for all to participate in, not only IEEE members. So do take a look at that. I will close with an invitation to join Empower a Billion Lives, to really take part in this second round of competition, and yeah, help us move this energy access challenge forward. So I think with that, I will move over to hand over to Isa, talk about EBL2 in more details.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. You really set the stage for the competition and laid out a foundation that really we're talking about 3 billion people without energy access or very limited energy access. So in EBL1, as you mentioned, we made a great progress. We had several lessons that we learned from, and we moved that to EBL2. So what I will do in the next 15 to 20 minutes, dive into the guidelines and the rules for the competition. The PowerPoint is kind of comprehensive, so I don't have to go through it in detail, but really we want to give the chance to answer questions. I'm so happy to see so many participants who joined, and thank you so much for your interest. So let me go ahead and share my screen and get into detail of what is requirement in terms of the requirements for the competition. I'm gonna put my glasses on, getting all that. Do you see the slides? Is that clear?
Yes, we can see. Great.
Oh, great. So, thank you. Great. So let me go ahead and first thing I want to, Jane, thank you so much for organizing this webinar. And Jane spent a lot of time getting the website running to be prepared for EBL2. So the first thing I want to put is the website where all the resources are available. The PowerPoints for this presentation as well as the video will be posted. If you go to empowerbillion.org, you will see the competition guidelines in terms of to register, enroll, and so forth. And on the right-hand side, the support has all the documentation. So please, after this session, if you have any questions, we will be referring to the main website. Again, I think Elena clearly put laid out for us the need out there. So when we deal with regions that are highly, economically deprived, very small infrastructure, and you talk about the large areas, distributed in large areas, with almost 1 billion people without energy, 2 billion people with limited access to energy, then the question is the solution has to address not only technology, but the business model and also having a social impact. So this is the message that from EBL1 was well received. Many teams came forward with a lot of good ideas in terms of the technology and how do you deploy the solution, how do you scale up the solution, what kind of impact you make. This is the solution we are looking for. So by the day, when this began with Professor Deepak starting this at Georgia Tech, the idea is we want to crowdsource innovation and opportunity to bring teams together. When we all look at the challenge, then we can bring teams to address it. What kind of solution? We're really looking for solution that can become scalable, economically affordable to these regions, and be able to serve the community and enable the community. So I'll go through the scale, the grading or the scoring for the competition, but they all center around this, the matrix in terms of social impact, the business model, and the technology being used. This is a global competition and open for everyone. So I'm glad to see several students participating as well and faculty members. We want universities to participate, small businesses, large businesses, research groups, and non-profit organizations. Of course, when you deal with the energy access, it's a really complex global challenge that requires everyone to jump in. So we hope the participation will be diverse and open for everyone. So when we look at the solution, I think Elena already mentioned it in a high level. So we will get into the tracks, what you need to address, but at the bottom line, at the end, your solution could be an entire solution approach, bottom up, or up-down approach, or you can have a decentralized approach where you address a single home and a small community. So the question is, if you do the small scale solution or a large one, centralized one, we wanted to make sure it's scalable, it has automation and sustainable, interoperability, and affordable. Otherwise, we cannot really scale up the solution. So we needed the solution that are holistic, technically strong, economically viable, and of course, environmentally clean, as we all know. And then, of course, it has to address the local needs. It has to fit appropriately within the region we are competing with. So if you look at the desired features that already been highlighted, so technology is not everything, but it is very important piece of the solution. It has to be cheap enough to be affordable. It has to enable or empower people to create jobs or economic development for the region. Improve the quality of life. This is where we have opportunity to provide quick services where you really can help the need immediately with a small amount of energy. The model in terms of business has to be workable model given the nature of the regions we are addressing. And then there is opportunity to have value stream from that technology. And if there is a way to create a finance model around it, remember we're dealing with areas that have very little infrastructure in terms of finances as well. And then you look at the way to scale to a larger group. Because once you have a small town or small village being addressed, how can you scale this up? So this is kind of really the bottom line for the competition. This is a sample of innovation. I think I don't want to touch all of them because we already discussed them at a higher level. So I want to get to the guidelines, but think of this, this is a very low income region for almost, we're talking about $1,500 a year income and very little infrastructure to have access to banking and, services. And then when you deal with delivering a product that is going to be used, what kind of business model is going to allow you to make a profit, give something or sell something that's affordable, and be able to reach the area in a kind of delivery infrastructure, and then still have some financing coming in. So in the EBL1, we really, had a great exposure to so many business models out there that can address such challenging regions and communities. It has to be scalable, as we mentioned, because at the end of the day, it's a large area with so many people have limited access. So you want your solution to be able to go to multiple regions. Sustainable because of, at the end, you don't want something complex, breaks down, very little know-how in the area, very little, technical background and strength. So you want something that automation plays a major role. Expandability, as I mentioned. Of course, when we deal as I mentioned, the infrastructure, can you serve to the last neighborhood and the last area, the last mile distribution infrastructure? And we saw the pressure from the first workshop we held in June 30th, the pressure on expanding the grid to those areas, when if it's not really profitable, neither there's enough economics to pay for it, or maybe even the usage for it. But a lot of politics involved in expanding the grid. So we needed a solution that can provide that expansion and provide energy to those areas. Gender is important. You need to empower female and women to be engaged in the solution. A lot of services can really open that opportunity. And when we deal with the improvement quality of life, it's giving a person opportunity to have a job or provide energy for services, and with an income, you give the person purpose, and that means so much into the human dignity itself in terms of empowering that group. So we need some solution that really get excitement in the area where they can have an opportunity to create some revenue stream income. A lot of role now with data analytics because of the way the distribution is happening with smart nodes connected. When we deal with regions that we mentioned, 2 to 3 billion people, more, I don't know, the latest numbers, probably 50 to 60% of them have smartphones, but there's no infrastructure for banking and others. So there is a connectivity infrastructure, and there is a hunger for jobs and be able to be part of it. Again, I mentioned the financial inclusion important. Device monitoring is coming very strong way now. We've seen very cheap devices, highly connected, being distributed throughout the system. So if you put all these innovations together, you ask yourself, what is my wow factor? What did I do? Is it really on the technology, which is very important? If you have a wow factor in the technology, it's a great solution, but also you might have it in the business model, that your solution will allow to scale, scalability and reach. Or it can be a wow factor in social impact, like creating job and really get everyone excited on the solution. So these are really great opportunities for innovation. So go back, please look at the website and see the guidelines, which I will go through them now in terms of the guidelines to submit your 3-page concept paper. So Appendix 1 has the detail of what target solution we want, the single family solution or a community solution. So we do give a specification, more detail, and I need to address it now at this point. So again, the impact, the social impact, the business model, and the technology itself. when we look at the diverse possible solutions for a diverse area with diverse needs, then we needed to kind of streamline the submission. So we proposed 6 tracks, and those tracks are in that document, if you take a look at the guidelines. And so your solution could fit one of them, or it could be multi-track in a sense that it could solve, this technology or provide the solution in a different technical approach or a business approach. So the decentralized one model, where let me go through them one by one. The decentralized model that does not require infrastructure and pre-planning, kind of distributed solution, but you want to allow growth, and whether it's a single home, but how do you expand it to regional areas? The centralized, we know this is the planning, the centralized solution. We have seen some solution do this one. They go central planning and so forth. Some of them really, this came from the workshop. They want end-use energy, productive use of energy, extremely important services with little amount of energy, but a lot of service can be provided. So that's important. Automation is playing a major role. We're really glad to see IEEE Automation Society be part of a major sponsor of this competition. Now, how do you get this automation included in that solution that's scalable in its approach? And then you might not look at maybe a technology and a solution with a decentralized or centralized. You might look at enabling a piece of technology, subsystem or a device can enable those technical challenges we talked about. So if you have a solution can do that, would be great. This year, we really want to see more student teams because of, we want the university to be engaged. So we made it easier for you for the field testing. So instead of traveling and do a field test in certain areas, we allow this in the local area where the university is located. So if we can ease the competition for phase 2, we want more students to be engaged. And, we will answer some questions as they arise, because I've been getting some questions on that. So, again, let me summarize. 6 tracks, you decide which one you want to fit under, and you do submission. And then we'll maybe the judges will decide to move it around different tracks. However, at the end of the day, what's really a good performance is it has some technology in it that's innovative, and it is low cost. And then how do you plan to deploy it? Through what business model you're going to do that, and how is going to help improve quality of life? What kind of impact it has? So the teams, we've been excited to see how many teams have been formed. So get your team formed, and then look at the guidelines. So as I think Elena mentioned that already. This is the World Bank kind of classification when it comes to the amount of energy used, the amount and the number of hours, affordability, the quality, and so forth. So they did look at different tiers. And when we look at in this competition, we want to look at minimum tier 2. So this is where you're trying to give enough number of hours per day of energy and a couple hours at night, and then make it affordable and so forth. So tier 2 is kind of the borderline. And of course, you can have a high end of tier 2, or a big house or community with large needs, or a smaller one as well. So we're open to all of that. We can discuss that a little bit more. Here is a typical target home. So this is not necessarily strict guidelines, but typically, you have few people live in the house, 5 people in the house. And then you have few of them clustered around in a small town, small village, depends on the region, of course. But here's the point, is that $1,500 per year income. So what piece you're gonna take out of the $1,500 to pay for energy? Because as Elena mentioned, it's not the electrons I want, it's what do I do with them. So if we can give you those electrons and we give you that energy and a small amount from your income in a given area, what can they do with that kind of investment? So looking at the low end of the the house needs, 200 watt hour, 50 watt peak power, or you can go all the way to 700 watt hour per day, or the maximum 1 kilowatt hour. And if you look at tier 2, and there's a link for that kind of tier classification, take a look at it. It will say where does your solution lie in that approach. The target community, that's really when you want to scale up into a larger group. This mainly can also target by centralized approach. This is a large community of 1,000 up to 1,000. They have still limited income, and those groups might come into the grid in a few years. So how would your solution be able to kind of adapt to a grid coming in? Again, I mentioned that 50% households do not have really bank account or infrastructure, but many of them have cell phones. So here is what the guidelines kind of, we're making EBL2 kind of two-phase cycle, or you can think of 3 round with the global final. So the first round is the concept paper, which I think the deadline, we moved it to December 15 now. So I'll fix that. It's already fixed in the next slide. And then you should hear from us within a month. But this is really to get you in. Form the team, submit your 3-page. I will go over what's in the 3-page. And then within a month, you will hear feedback, encourage or discourage. It's up to the team to compete or not with the full proposal, but the full proposal submission will be shifted about 2.5 months later. So those deadlines are moving, which I will show you in the next slide. And then after that, we have a field test. The summer period between June into August, you will have an opportunity to do field tests. Students will have kind of different requirement because it will allow you to do a field test in the area you're in. Once we have that, the finalists who made the cut will go to the global final, and it will be held in Detroit at ECC Conference 2022. So here is the kind of layout. So this is really the new deadline. So we're dealing with, we have, I'm gonna highlight this. So this is important. So we have time, and that's why we put this webinar in place. And then hopefully by June 15, you'll hear feedback and encourage you, or whatever feedback you get, to go to cycle 2. And once you submit the full proposal, there will be 3 months invitation to do field test. And then after field test, the finalist will be invited to Detroit in October 2022. And last year, that's the one Elena mentioned, 23 teams made it to the final. So we hope you'll have a chance to make it to the final. And then really, the prices are changing every day as more funds comes in. So last EBL1, we gave, maybe Jane can correct me if I'm wrong, we gave $500,000 in total prizes. So we expect this will be similar this year, this round. Every 2 years we have that round. So we're constantly fundraising for the competition. And now we see more IEEE societies coming in to be part of this global challenge issue. The concept paper, 3 pages, mainly 2 pages if you take the cover page. So the cover page, put your team, your summary, what are you addressing, and maybe put a photo or whatever you want to show the team excitement. Page 2 and 3 is the main body. So we want, what are you addressing? What challenge you are addressing? What kind of innovation do you have in terms of, is it the business model, it's the technology, or it is the social impact, or maybe all of them? And, address that in 2 pages. Please stick, we're trying to stick to the guidelines in terms of fonts and so forth. So 11 inches, 8.5 by 11 inch page number, and then fonts 12. The criteria I'll show you in a minute. Again, it's exactly what we mentioned since the webinar began. It's the technology or that enable to address the crowdsourcing solution. So if you are addressing the goal of EBL2, that's, that's a welcoming entry, and then what is the technology and what's the business model and what kind of impact you're doing, and how would you test it? How would you let the judges know how to test that solution? The document in the website that I referred to it in the beginning has all the detail of the tech score in terms of the business model, the technology score, and the impact score. And this is the collective scoring. So the technology score, the business score, and the impact score. All those features are mostly going to apply to the concept paper, but not with a detail, because the concept is very short, 2 pages, kind of description of what you're going to do. But the full page, which I think the full proposal could be up to 10 pages, I believe, that will have all the details. So it's important for you to look at the scoring sheet where we are going to assign some recognition. This is for the audience, you don't know IEEE. This is really a global organization with more than almost 450,000 members across the globe. And those societies are engaged to help mankind to have a better quality of life from day one that IEEE began. So EBL became a major activity, one of the global activities of IEEE that will help create energy access to global community in order to help 3 billion people to have a decent amount of energy, to have a decent way of living. The organizations of IEEE are coming in for full support. We're very grateful for all the names you see there who have provided support. So I don't want to spend more time. Just like Elena mentioned, this is an open invitation for the team who did not submit. And this is an opportunity to answer questions. So Professor Deepak Divan came up with the idea of EBL, and Abraham Ferreira, late Abraham, who passed away this year, really co-founded EBL when he was the president of PELS. And so we're always going to remember him this year, what he has done, and every time we run EBL. So with that, Elena, I'm going to stop and maybe take questions.
So Isa, we have a question which asks, what track would a team use if their project is designed to prove the viability of a new business model for mini grids combined with agro-processing productive use equipment?
Wow, that's great. I lean toward the productive use of technology, but I'm going to turn it to Elena if she want to add more to this, more detail. Elena?
I believe Elena had to go.
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
because of the business model, let me quit sharing so you have my face. Let me see. How do you stop sharing? 1 second. Let me stop.
I can take it.
I got it.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that question. Elena worked with the productive use of energy track carefully, but in case of a good business model, it's going to really kind of cover all the tracks. So that's not a track itself. We believe many of the tracks will have a creative business model. So when it comes to productive use of energy, whether it is a large solution or small, that will be acceptable. I would recommend you go to that track. When the panelists or the judges meet, they will look at it carefully, and they might assign like 2 tracks overlapping with decentralized, centralized, and so forth. So there is no big deal of making your initial guess first. Does that answer the question?
Let me just see. And we're not getting a follow-up question on that. There's another question, and this has come up a bit. Does the competition include project funding? I believe they're relating that to field testing funding, or is it for prizes only? And I believe our answer to this, correct me if I'm wrong, is thus far what we've done in the past is every team that is accepted to move on to field testing can get a letter from IEEE so that they can fundraise for their field testing. And also, we do have a crowdfunding page, and when we're getting ready for field testing and teams know they've been accepted, they'll be able to build their own page on our crowdfunding to use that to try and garner support. That said, EBL is constantly in a fund raising mode to make sure that we we're in fundraising mode to support the competition prizes and support teams, and all of the monies that IEEE Power Electronics Society puts in goes to the organization. Everything we fundraise goes directly to teams and prizes. Should we be, very successful at that, we will try and help teams along the way. But from this point, we give opportunities for teams to do their own fundraising, and those that successfully complete field testing and are invited to the global final. We do pay for a team member to come to the global final, all their registration fees for the conference that it's held at, and there's a poster session with exhibition opportunities that for all of the teams to give at a major conference.
Very good. So I totally on the same page with that, because I remember EBL when some teams were asked for help, and because it was held regionally, there was support regionally. But let me put it this way: if you do need any support from us in terms of letter or any endorsement email, we will be glad to help you to do your own fundraising, no doubt. However, as we proceed toward fundraising, as we are doing it every day, the more we will, the more we raise and the more we have commitment, it will allow us to provide really, more funds to help you with the testing. As far as coming to the global final, that will be covered, as Jane mentioned.
And one more question we have here. Is there any team members limit? Yes, teams are limited to a maximum of 10 members. And beyond that, probably would be a good idea to have, there can be multiple teams coming from the same institution. They just cannot have the same team leader.
Okay. Any more questions coming? Can they ask by voice, or it has to be typed?
I'm seeing if I can allow I'm seeing if I can allow everyone to. I can unmute everyone and then ask anyone that is not asking a question. So I'm going to unmute everybody. And if you don't have a question, just go ahead and remute yourself. And if you do have a question, go ahead and ask it.
Yeah, such funny.
Yeah.
There you go. Everybody is.
It's not on the dance floor.
Everyone is unmuted, and
If you go down the
you
stairs,
all in the background. So
Sounds good.
if we can ask anybody that doesn't have a question to mute, and if you do have a question, you can go ahead and ask it out loud.
Muzaffer?
Huh? I think
Yes.
my own, yes, I have a question.
Please.
Yeah. On my own, I have already submitted, but what I have learned right now is that on business model, I think I believe on the second area now we'll be able to build up more on the business model. That's the opportunity I'm looking at right now. Because on my submission, I don't think the business model is really well expatiated somehow. That's my question. I hope I still have the opportunity. Is that?
Yeah. Business model again is a key, is a key component of the three pieces we mentioned. So if you're only addressing the business model without the technology, that will be tough competition with the others, right? Because we need solutions. So are you using off-the-shelf solution completely? Are you repackaging it? Is there innovation in terms of packaging the solution and coming up with a financial model that does not exist?
Yeah. I'm coming out with innovation. That's a new invention, a new innovation. Generally, in order to generate electricity, this one is really mobile type of innovation of generating electricity by windmill. So that
so you do have excellent. So you do have innovation in terms of the energy generation itself. It's the source. So that will be definitely of interest, including the business model. So you should submit.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Okay. Ask.
Yes. Okay. May I ask if I'm a student member, so all the members in my team have to be students, or the supervisor, like for example, the university professor can also participate in the team?
That's the expected model. That's a good question. So yes, all the students, undergraduate, graduate, and then your faculty advisor will lead the team for official paperwork and signing. So that's the typical model we expect. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we have a question here. Are there some targeted KPIs defined in each section, i.e. technology, business model, and impact?
Yeah, and that's why I refer that question to the document. It has the KPI list of it actually lists the breakdown of each score. In the technology score, there is a table. I quickly showed that. I can show it very quickly, 1 second. So I took this from the paper. Do you see the slide?
Yes, we do.
It doesn't have the breakdown in detail of the numbers, but look at the impact score in terms of the value created to the community, what impact you have. Are you easy to target family to use? Is it complicated? Remember a lot of those neighbors are not technically savvy. Is it affordable and so forth? So they're going to look at the kind of breakdown in terms of what impact you have addressed. And technology-wise, the system itself, is it scalable? Can you expand it? Are you dealing with operation and sustainability in terms of, how do you install it? How do you commission it? How do you maintain it? And then, do you have connectivity? That will be great value to have, by the way. And then what other advanced features do you have? In the business model, like the previous questions, is it the financial model is coming up, something new? Are you going to start with a small number of small number of houses? How do you go to a large number? Scalable in terms of the model itself. Are the technology keep dropping in prices? Is yours dropping in terms of prices and so forth? So yes, these are the judges' guidelines for each score, and then they will add them up based on a percentage. I don't have access yet, or have not decided what percentage is going to be dropped. I mean, that's allocated for each one. I hope that answered the question.
So we have a question here on how we might connect with other attendees to this webinar so that we can build teams. And so EBL, Empowered Billion Lives, has a LinkedIn page. We also have an IEEE platform called Collaboratech, and we have a Twitter account. And so I would suggest that the best ways to do it would be through the Empower Billion Lives social media options.
I think so. I think it's all individual effort in terms of forming the team. I don't think you want us to be engaged in kind of contact other than our social media platform and our website. We'll be very glad to help you to, if you want to do introduction, you have certain interest, let us know. Maybe we'll be able to help you. As far as the participants in this one, are the names are available? Because it's all in the website in terms of individual teams. I don't think we are sharing any information about other teams with anyone, right, Jane?
No, we're not. Although we did have a question, and I'm trying to find it, where somebody asked about would we be sharing the names of the judges like we do in conferences for reviewers, where it's listed. And so for what I would say for the initial in EBL1 for the initial online proposals portion, we had about 72 reviewers, and we we assigned by their expertise in energy access, business, or technology area, 3 to 4 reviewers for each proposal, and so that was a large field. As papers are accepted, and you go to say a field testing review, that's more of it's online, but it's still a face-to-face. You're introduced to who your reviewers are. You interactively talk to them. At the global final, you're in the same room. But and welcome, Deepak. Deepak has just joined. The question is, what's the transparency around the reviewers? Is it similar to where you find the listing of all of the reviewers for, like, say, conferences and papers?
Yeah, the judges and reviewer list will be, known, and we'll collect the feedback and share that back with the teams as well. This is a little more complex than a typical technical paper review because we also have a business model review and a social impact review as part of it. So the process is a little more complex, but I think we've learned a lot through EBL1. So hopefully we bring those lessons to bear.
Welcome, Deepak. This is our founder of EBL from Georgia Tech, Professor Deepak. Thank you so much. We had a good conversation. So the questions really, I think the last one that just came in, some teams, they might have difficulty forming the complete team, and they want to know who participated in seminar today so they can approach them. So the answer is really our social media platform. Our website will allow engagement, back and forth to post messages. And the judges, as far as the judges, so many of them, we will provide the list. However, the question I think was specifically your track we might not know exactly who reviewed yours. That's confidential, but it will have a list of reviewers and judges actually listed.
The overall list will be there.
Yeah, good.
Well, I'm glad. My apologies. I missed most of the conversation. I was tied up in other meetings, and I at least wanted to come and drop in for a few minutes.
Well, I'm glad you made it, my friend. That's good.
So we have another question. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
please
sorry.
go ahead.
We have another
Yeah.
question. Do the team members have to reside in the country where they are proposing the project for, or is that not a problem? This team is in Europe, but their project is for Africa.
I think that was we had quite a few of those teams last time, if I remember, right, Jane?
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
quite a bit. It's very usual to have a team from one area that is targeting a particular area in Southeast Asia or Africa for their solution.
Yeah, and again, I think because normal teams, there's a kind of a field trial as an integral part of the competition, and I think it's really important. It was very successful last time, and what it does is it provides de-risking of the technology as well as the business model, and this is really, I think, what is important from a scaling perspective as venture capital and other kind of folks are looking at these solutions. That field test is important, and I think it really entails that teams that are from anywhere will probably be figuring out a way to make that field test happen, and that will be in a different country.
Ask a question?
Please.
Okay.
I don't have
So-
any question right now.
Okay. No, someone has a question. Go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, so this is a team from Kenya. My name is Joseph. And of course, you're very much interested in participating in this EBL round 2. We missed round 1, so but it's a good thing that you guys have maintained, given us an opportunity to participate again this year. So we're grateful for that. And I think my key concern at the moment was the size of the initial submission. That is the 3-pager, and what is required. Some of the things that are required to be inputted there. It feels like we need to over-summarize.
Yes.
Yes. So, like for page 1, that is the concept summary, the relevance to EBL2 goals, team organization and capabilities, and then you put photographs as well. If I try to put that on one page, it seems like each topic needs just a sentence or 2. Yeah. So I'm not so sure if that conciseness would bring out the concept of what you want to present at this point in time. That is what I'm trying to work around, actually, at this point in time. So maybe if me and my team could get some guidance around that, at least what is expected for this first part of the submission, it really help us in putting in a more rich application.
Great question, Joseph. Let me try to see if I can tackle that first, and Jane and Isa, jump in, please. I know, brevity is very, very difficult, and to keep things short is very, very challenging. We understand that. I think this is more really to kind of make sure that teams are aligned with the objectives of EBL. Last time we saw a number of teams that were really not well aligned in the early days. That's why we had such a high dropout rate. And we just want to make sure that you don't spend the effort to write a full proposal and do everything that is required, to be able to submit something out here. So the idea is that in a couple of pages, if you can kind of attest to the fact that you tick all the boxes that are required for this entering this competition, that you can do a field trial, that you have really products that are kind of in shape, go and you have an idea of how you're going to be implementing this, and that you've addressed the issues of business model as well. I think that's what we're looking for. This is really mainly to kind of reduce the effort that you as a team have to put. So you're not going to win the competition on this concept paper, but you're going to save yourself a lot of work, if the alignment is not there. That's kind of the mission. That makes sense, Joseph?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Lisa, do you want to add?
I
Go
might
ahead.
add something as well. Remember, you have the option of adding also in to your submission a 2-minute video. So if you have really key details that are too expansive for your concept paper, some of those maybe you think there's more of a wow, but you can't really expand on it in ticking off these boxes, then you might want to utilize the opportunity to make a video. It can be a cell phone video. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, and upload that with your submission.
Joseph, you're good with that answer? You're okay?
Yes. I think that over summary on for the things that are required per page, that is what we were trying to struggle with as a team. But I think the part where the alignment with the EBL goals, I think that has brought some sense.
Yeah.
Some sense into
It was
the
good to struggle in the beginning to put those words in and write for as abstract. But as mentioned earlier, also, this is our opportunity to, if we have any feedback to provide, and take a look at what you are forming your team and addressing. And also, efficiencies are important. I think based on EBL 1 coming to EBL 2, this is an opportunity to streamline the submission and provide an early feedback to get a little bit better time, use of time for the teams as well as the judges. So it'll be a good summary. I'm sure you'll provide.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yes, sorry. Just the host mentioned we can submit the video. So how long the video can be if we want to submit?
I think Jane mentioned 2 minutes, right?
Yeah,
2 minutes.
we'd prefer a 2-minute video.
Thank you.
I believe it is outlined in the guidelines. So
It's optional.
Yeah, and there's a question in the chat box about who are the target customers? Can the projects be refugee camps which are located in remote areas with no access to electricity? I think the answer to that is yes. We are talking about resiliency as well as off-grid communities. So this one certainly qualifies. You might be kind of also making the case for how this translates into a wider energy access problem, but the field demonstration, I think, can definitely be in a refugee camp in my mind. Isa, do you agree?
Absolutely, and unfortunate fact of our world is that so many of them around throughout the region. So solutions like that would be great. And what's good about some of the solution for refugee areas is that they empower, women, men, kind of all diverse participation. Lots of, so many female were empowered with some solar solutions. They were part of the solution, or part of the technology delivery. So it'll give you an opportunity for innovation, no doubt.
A clarification also on the video, sorry. Is it 200 seconds as outlined on the website, or 2 minutes? Because I think 2 minutes is.
I didn't know there was a discrepancy.
Seconds, yeah.
I think,
Okay.
Jane, let's pull that into alignment. Thanks for pointing it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Joseph. Yeah, we'll stick to whatever we said on the website.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if you mentioned it, but just for all the teams to understand. I mean, you guys are all volunteering your time to participate in the competition, and just want you to know that the entire group of organizers and judges and everybody are also volunteers here. So this is really an all volunteer kind of community that we're all trying to make something exciting happen. So appreciate your participation. Hopefully this is an even bigger success than EBL1 was, and it won't happen without you guys in the teams.
Good point. Yeah, great. Okay, we have a few more minutes. If you have any more questions, I think if we said that if you have any question about your team formation, you want to send a private email, let us know. Just go to the website and submit a question. I'll be glad to answer you individually. Remember, the deadline, we moved it to December 15, so you'll have enough time to put the team together.
Right, and I just want to add, yes, you can use Billion Lives at IEEE.org. Is our email address for any questions you might have. And also, if you're not enrolled or subscribed to our newsletter, you can do that through the website, and that tends to be, that's our main communication with our EBL teams about any communications that we have.
I also want to have a shout out for Ashok. Ashok Bindra is on the line, I see, and greetings to you, Ashok. It's been a long time since we met. Hopefully we can meet in this post-COVID world that's emerging, and appreciate all the support that you've been giving us in terms of visibility, and please continue to help us with that.
Thank you, Ashok. Also, I see some friends from Princess Sumaya University in Jordan, faculty and vice president joining to encourage their students. Thank you so much. I think this will be a great opportunity for students to work with their faculty, especially in the MENA region. We have seen a lot of needs there. Thank you.
Another question, can a small energy company be a team member? And the answer to that is yes. In fact, I mean, our hope is the only way we're going to get to scale on this is if we get a lot of entrepreneurs involved and their teams. So, we think that a lot of the solutions that are going to be, scaling quickly are going to be disruptive solutions. We've seen enough evidence that simple grid extension is very, very expensive, and new solutions, I think, that build on exponential technologies like solar PV batteries, microgrid, nanogrids, really, I think, have a big opportunity. And this provides you a mechanism to get visibility, provides you the field testing, the minimum viable prototype build, all the stages that investors are looking for. This provides some kind of validation, process, and that can help you in your next phase of growth. And we like to track our companies that participate, and to hopefully help them to keep succeeding, and to share their experiences back with everybody. So yes, please, I think love to see more and more entrepreneurs be a part of this. Yeah. There's no restriction on who can, the only people who cannot submit, participate in a team are the people who are organizing it. So, me, my students, and, same thing with Isa. Jane. I mean, none of us can participate. That's just to keep conflict of interest issues manageable. But other than that, you know.
Again, the PowerPoints will be available, and we will have a recording video as well. This will be available. And please email us if you have more questions. We still have a few minutes to go. If you have more questions, let us know, please.
I think we're probably, you know, getting close to, we saturated everybody with the answers. You guys have. I haven't been there most of the time. So, but thank you so much, everybody, for being here, for participating. I think we love the enthusiasm. We love, you know, being able to kind of offer a platform to help you guys succeed and to, you know, solve a really big problem. I'm sure you told them about the Global Energy Access Forum.
Yes.
Right. You know, please join. I mean, I think that's another service that IEEE PELS is providing in terms of facilitating this ongoing conversation. These are complex topics. If you understand the policy environment, if you understand the technology opportunities, standards, you know, these things all help you succeed. So, you know, become a part of the community. It costs you nothing, and you know, gives you a chance to you know, be contributing in that space. So,
yeah. Yeah, Elena gave a very good overview of the workshop outcome from which we formed the Global Energy Access Forum.
yeah.
Deepak, thank you so much for joining us as well. So I appreciate that. Jane, thank you so much for organizing this. And I want to thank all the participants and really stick with us for an hour and a half and ask so many questions. So we look forward to your submissions, and hopefully we'll see you in person at the global final competition.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, you'll all be winners one way or the other, because you form a community, you learn more, you test more, you get exposed to new technologies, you get exposed to new ways of doing things. And this is the whole point of the competition. So
exactly.
Best of luck, everybody. We look forward to seeing your submissions. You know, time's coming. So, all right.
Thanks all. Thank you very much. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.